Assalamu alaikum. My name is Muhammad Manakib Hayat, and this is going to be the first lecture on the course of International Relations. And these lectures, I believe, would be quite helpful for you. Either you're choosing international relations as a subject, or you want to pursue international relations for the comparative examinations without having any experience of international relations. So, in today's lecture, I would be just telling you few of the do's and don'ts that you must need to understand before you choosing international relations. So, first is that the international relations is not current affairs. This is basically a false assumption that we have drawn. International relation has its own jargon. It works differently. Yes, there are certain things that are quite related because in current affairs we are somewhat dealing with, with international relations without a doubt. But international relations has a different lens of looking at things. So I will be explaining it in upcoming lectures. So second is that the if you want to gain good marks in international relations, then you must need to have a good understanding of theories of international relations, because without applying theories of international relations, examiner is not going to give you marks. This is a proven as the evidence that we have understood. And what are the major theories that you must need to understand and apply as well? One is the realism. In realism, obviously, there is new realism as well. Then there are defensive and offensive realism, but we call it a realism. Then there is the liberalism. In liberalism, obviously, there is the new liberalism. It's a different stand of it. Then there is the third is the constructivism. It's a very important theory. And fourth is the critical theory. You must apply critical theory in your questions. And fifth, you can apply Marxism, you can apply feminism, uh, depending on what sort of question is being asked. So application of these theories is extremely important that you need to understand. For example, if I would give you the question that what are the prospects of Pakistan-Afghan relations after the US withdrawal? So it looks like it's the question of current affairs, or even to the certain extent Pakistan affairs, but it's not, because in this question you will be applying all these theories that I have mentioned. For example, when we will apply realism in this question, we will be talking about balance of power, we will be talking about Pakistan's national interests, we will be talking about the security of Pakistan, because recently Pakistan has asked 1.7 million Afghan refugees to go back to Afghanistan, and the only reason, the rationale behind it was that Pakistan wanted security and survival of the state, because realists believe that security is extremely important. Security of the state is more important than the individual rights. So you must apply realism in that context. Second is the liberalism. So because liberalism talks about cooperation, so we can apply liberalism in a way that because Pakistan and Afghanistan have a very strong trade relations, and Pakistan gives Afghanistan a route that we call a transit route. And if we use it properly, this trade route can be a source of cooperation between both the countries. According to liberalism, if there will be more interdependence between both the countries, then obviously there will be more chances that there will be cooperation, there will be more uh, good relations. So in third, uh, the major theory that we had discussed is that the theory of constructivism. So according to constructivism, these are the ideas, values, history, culture that is the cornerstone of the any sort of relationship between the states. So in constructivism, we can apply that both Pakistan and Afghanistan have a very strong ethnic background. That is the Pashtun people living in both the countries, in Peshawar and Kabul. So so these people have very strong linkages, and we can apply that in understanding what would be the future aspects of Pakistan, Afghanistan. And in a critical theory, we'll be discussing the emancipation of of uh, of people, and we'll be discussing how for these realism, liberalism as a theories are, because these theories are basically founded on false assumptions. For example, I'll give you an example of it. Critical theories, according to critical theory, realism has a very uh, wrong assumptions. One is that there will be the human nature is faulty, it is greedy, it only seeks to gain power. So assuming that every person behaves in that manner is totally wrong, and it's quite understandable. Similar has been the case with the liberalism. People have never gone for the cooperation without any incentive, but for liberalism, the human nature is good, people always go for the cooperation, but that's not the case. So the critical theory is the theory that totally negate the major theories, and it wants to create a new theory, a new paradigm in which the emancipation of people is more important. So similarly, we can apply Marxism, we can apply feminism to the certain extent, but not necessarily. It's not important that you have to apply everything. So that is the way to look into the international relations as a subject in a comparative examination, and that will give you an edge uh, on the other people. So in this lecture, I wanted to tell you that how you should approach international relations as a subject, because in Pakistan it's not been given priority. People usually choose international relations just they want to have some sort of understanding of current affairs, but that's not the case. You need to understand the theories of international relations uh, properly. If you don't do that, I don't think so you will be uh, getting enough marks. And we all know that when it comes to political science and international relations, political science has an edge in average marks of 10 to 15 numbers. The major reason is that people do not have proper understanding of international relations, and they uh, choose international relations just because they have understanding of current affairs, not on the basis that international relations has its own jargon which needs proper time, and you need to apply that on your paper. So this is a lecture that I really wanted to give, because in this way I was able to explain you that if you want to choose international relations, this is extremely important subject, and it will open your different horizon. It will open you towards the world, but at the same time you need to have a proper understanding of it. uh, so this was the lecture that I wanted to give you, just to uh, eliminate all sort of false assumptions and fallacies that we have created, that international relations as a subject is quite easy, but that's not the case. It's the one of the most critical subject in CSS, and there is no denying the fact, because it requires critical thinking, it requires the application of these theories. And if we will apply that, I really believe that the person would be getting enough marks. And so this was the lecture, and I believe this lecture is quite helpful for you. uh, and in next lectures we'll be understanding the major theories, because I really want to start the international relations on theories, because other areas can be covered, like nuclear proliferation, or the South Asian problem, or the great power competition. All those things are the 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 offshoots of it. They are totally depending on international relations theories. So this was the lecture. So I hope it will be quite helpful for you, and please follow the upcoming lecture, because these lectures would be quite helpful for you. And uh, you can have a very dialogue in it. You can comment on the my lectures. So I'll be quite happy to answer it. So thanks, and thanks all.